Princess Lyria sat alone on the broken stone steps outside the abandoned outpost. The wind was dry and heavy with dust. Every time she breathed, her throat burned. The sky above the barren moon was pale gray, always silent, without clouds or stars. It was a place where nothing grew. A place for forgotten things. A place for discarded people. Lyria pulled the worn fabric of her old royal cloak tighter around her shoulders. It was the last thing she had left from her former life. Once she had walked through golden halls with guards on both sides. Servants had bowed their heads when she passed. Her father, the emperor of the Varnic Empire, had introduced her to the council as his proud daughter. That pride ended the moment the medical tests declared she was barren. A Varnic princess without the ability to produce heirs was considered useless. Her family did not shout. They did not cry. They simply stopped looking at her. That was worse than hatred. It was like she had turned invisible. One morning, without warning, they placed her in a ship, flew her to this forgotten moon, and left. They did not even give her a farewell word. Just a half-broken building, a crate of ration packs, and silence. That was 1 year ago. At first, she had waited. She had believed maybe her father would change his mind. Maybe her mother would visit. Maybe her sister would send a message. But no ship ever came. No voice ever called her name. She was not only abandoned, she was erased. She survived not because she still had hope, but because pride would not let her die easily. Every morning, she fixed parts of the outpost. She repaired the oxygen regulator with broken metal scraps. She learned how to open ration packs carefully, so no food was wasted. She collected moisture from air vents to drink. She trained with a dull spear to keep her body strong. She did everything with cold calm, never allowing herself to collapse, but sometimes, when the wind howled through the metal pipes at night, she pressed her forehead against the wall and whispered, "Why was I born if only to be thrown away?" One afternoon, while she was checking the cracked solar panels, her ears caught a sound she had not heard in months. A ship engine. She froze. The sound was distant, but it grew louder. Her heart started beating faster. She looked to the horizon and saw a small object descending through the dusty sky. Not a Varnac ship. The shape was different, bulkier, human-made. Her first instinct was caution. Maybe it was a scavenger group. Maybe it was a pirate ship. Or worse, maybe her family had returned not to bring her back, but to remove her body completely. A corpse caused no political embarrassment. She ran inside the outpost and grabbed her spear. It was not sharp, but she held it like it was a royal blade. If someone came to kill her, she would not kneel. The human ship landed about 200 meters away. Steam hissed from its engines. The ramp opened slowly. A tall man in gray armor stepped out, holding a scanning device in one hand and a rifle in the other. He moved with alertness, scanning every direction, his helmet visor reflecting the dull sky. He was alone. Lyria narrowed her eyes. A human. She had seen humans only during political meetings in her childhood. They were considered stubborn but honorable. Still, she did not trust anyone. She stood at the entrance of the outpost, spear in hand, watching him approach. When he noticed her, he stopped. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Both silent. The man slowly raised one hand, not holding the gun, showing he meant no harm. He removed his helmet, revealing short brown hair, tired eyes, and skin slightly burned by sun and time. His voice was low but calm. "I'm not here to fight." Lyria kept her spear pointed at him. "Then leave." He looked around at the broken building behind her, then back at her face. "You're alone here? That is not your concern." He nodded slowly. "You're Varnac, and you are human." "Name's Damon," he said. She did not give her name back. He looked at the damaged power system near the entrance. "Your oxygen filters are failing. That is also not your concern." But he placed his helmet under his arm and crouched near the machine as if he did not hear her. He examined the wires. "You're losing 20% efficiency every hour. Another month and this thing will shut down." Lyria tightened her grip on her spear. "Do not touch my equipment." He glanced up at her. His voice remained steady. "You'll die if it breaks." She lifted the spear higher. "I have been dying since the day I was born. Leave." He studied her for a moment. Instead of standing or arguing, he simply turned back to the machine and continued checking it. Lyria stared. No one had ever ignored her threats before. "You do not listen," she said sharply. "Bad habit." he replied, opening his toolkit. She walked closer. Why are you doing this? He did not look at her directly. Because you're alive and this thing is killing your air. Her chest tightened unexpectedly. She stood there silently, unsure what to do. Part of her wanted to stop him. Another part wanted to watch him keep going. Without asking, Damon spent the next 2 hours repairing her broken regulator. He melted wires with a portable tool and replaced filters from his ship's supplies. Lyria stood nearby, arms crossed, pretending she did not care. But her heart was strangely warm. No one had worked for her since she was cast out. No one had even spoken to her with such simple honesty. When he finished, the machine hummed with stronger rhythm. Damon wiped sweat from his forehead and stood up. It's stable now, he said. You'll get cleaner air. Lyria opened her mouth, searching for the right words. She refused to say thank you. Instead, she said, you should leave before night. Temperatures drop, he nodded. I'll camp near my ship. He started walking away without waiting for gratitude. She watched him go. After a few steps, she called out, Human. He turned. She hesitated. The single word almost tasted bitter on her tongue. What is your purpose here? My ship crashed 6 kilometers from here. I was looking for shelter and supplies. Then take what you need and go. I already found what I needed, he said, placing his helmet back on. And what is that? A reason to stay alive. Her eyes widened slightly. He did not wait for her reaction. He simply walked away. That night, Lyria could not sleep. She sat near the wall thinking about the strange human. He was different from Varnak warriors. He did not demand obedience. He did not ask who she was. He did not treat her like something broken. The next morning, she stepped outside and saw Damon cooking something over a small heat stove near his ship. He glanced up. Want some? She frowned. What is it? Dried meat. Humankind. She stared at it suspiciously. I do not eat dead animals, he shrugged. Your loss. She turned to leave but stopped halfway. I could share ration paste, she said. He grinned slightly. Deal. They sat on opposite sides of a rock, sharing 2 different kinds of terrible food. He talked about his squad, how they were forced to retreat after a battle. His ship had malfunctioned during escape. He had been alone for 2 weeks before finding her outpost. When he asked about her past, she went silent. He didn't push. He simply said, Some things are hard to speak. Say it when you're ready, or don't. I won't force it. That simple respect struck her harder than any cruel word her family had ever spoken. Over the next few days, Damon repaired more parts of the outpost. He cleared debris from the roof and fixed leaking pipes. Lyria helped quietly, passing tools, holding wires, or lifting panels without being asked. They spoke little, but their silence was not cold. It was calm. It was comfortable. Sometimes he made jokes. Sometimes she almost smiled. One evening, as the sky turned darker than usual, Damon was fixing a wind sensor near the top of the building. Lyria stood below, watching. You're good at this, she said. He chuckled. I grew up fixing broken things. Why? No one else would. She thought about that. You serve your people even when they do not serve you. He glanced down. Isn't that what loyalty is? She looked away. Not in my empire. Maybe your empire is wrong. She did not answer. Later that night, while Damon slept near his ship, Lyria sat alone outside, staring at the horizon. For the first time in a long while, she whispered her own name to herself softly. Lyria. She was not speaking to herself. She was testing the feeling of being known again. The next day, while Damon was installing a new signal booster, Lyria collected spare metal parts. She decided to make a stronger spear, not because she feared Damon, but because she suddenly wanted to protect something again. She watched Damon from a distance. He was focused, determined, steady. Humans were shorter-lived than Varnak, yet he carried more willpower than many royal generals she had met. He was a soldier without an army, a protector without someone to protect, until now. Hours passed peacefully, then the sky roared. Lyria's head snapped upward. A large ship appeared from the clouds, descending fast. Varnak symbols were carved on its side, royal symbols. Her blood froze. Her family had returned. Not to save her. She knew better. They had come to erase her completely. Damon shouted from the roof, Lyria, get inside. She did not move. Her hands trembled slightly, but her spine stayed straight. She would not hide. The ship landed with a heavy thud. Dust clouds rose. The ramp opened. Armed Varnak soldiers marched out in dark blue armor. The lead officer stepped forward and spoke in cold voice. "Former Princess Lyria of House Varnak, by command of the Emperor, your existence is to be terminated." Lyria lowered her gaze for a moment. Her pride told her to face death without fear. She took one step forward, ready to kneel, ready to end this long humiliation. But before her knees touched the Varnak officer stared at Damon and Lyria standing together. His eyes narrowed, confused by the humans' courage. Varnak warriors were raised to believe humans were weak, emotional creatures who survived only in numbers. Yet here stood one alone, showing more bravery than most trained soldiers. The officer motioned his soldiers forward. "Remove the human first." Damon raised his rifle, his finger steady on the trigger. Lyria stepped closer to him, gripping her spear. She did not touch him, but her presence beside him was loud enough to send a message. She would not hide behind him. She would fight with him. The first group of Varnak soldiers charged forward. Damon fired precise shots, targeting their armor joints to disable rather than kill. He moved with calm focus. Every breath he took controlled every bullet he fired. He was not reckless. He was disciplined. A true soldier. Lyria's blood rushed like fire. She felt the old training awaken inside her. Royal daughters were not trained to lead armies, but they were trained to defend themselves. She spun her spear with sharp grace, striking the first soldier who approached her. His weapon fell from his hand. She struck again, forcing him to his knees. She did not kill him. She did not need to. She needed them to understand she was not helpless. The officer watched with growing irritation. "You shame your blood, Lyria. You stand with a lesser creature." Lyria glared at him. "You speak of blood, yet you abandoned your own kin. I would rather stand with one human who chooses honor than 100 Varnaks who choose pride." The officer raised his hand and signaled more soldiers to advance. Damon reloaded swiftly, moving in front of Lyria to block incoming shots. "Stay behind me," he said quietly. She refused. "No, I stand with you. Not behind you." Her defiance surprised him, but it also fueled him. Together, they fought like two storms colliding. Damon's rifle roared. Lyria's spear sliced through the air. Dust rose around them as metal clashed against metal. The Varnak soldiers were stronger physically, but they were not ready for warriors who fought side by side with trust instead of rank. Damon covered Lyria's blind spots without needing to be asked. Lyria blocked attacks aimed at his side without hesitation. They moved like partners who had trained for years, but numbers were against them. For every soldier they pushed back, more came from the ship. Damon's rifle clicked empty. He switched to a combat knife. Lyria's spear cracked at the wooden shaft. She grabbed a fallen enemy's staff and continued fighting. The officer smiled cruelly, thinking victory was near. "You delay the inevitable. You will die here." Damon gasped for breath, his voice hoarse but strong. "Maybe. But not before I take you down." The officer drew his plasma blade and marched forward. He aimed straight for Damon. Lyria jumped between them, blocking the attack with her stolen staff. Sparks flew from the impact. Her arms shook from the force, but she didn't fall. "Fight me," she growled. The officer sneered. "You have no right to challenge me. You are Barren. You are nothing." Those words struck deeper than any blade. But instead of breaking, Lyria's spirit hardened. She pushed the officer back with fierce strength. "I may not carry an heir in my body, but I will carry legacy in my actions." Damon stood beside her again. His shoulder touched hers. He whispered without turning his head, "You're not alone anymore." The officer roared in anger and lunged toward them both. Before his blade could strike, a loud alarm blared from the Varnak ship. A soldier shouted, "Commander! Incoming signals, multiple vessels approaching." Unknown signatures. The officer paused. "Reinforcements?" The soldier shook his head. "No, sir, they're mixed groups, abandoned units, rogue drones, disgraced captains. They're broadcasting a common message." The officer frowned. "Play it." A crackling voice echoed through their comms. "To Princess Lyria of House Varnak. Word of your fight reached us. We were cast out just like you. If you stand against those who abandoned us, we stand with you." Dozens of small ships appeared in the sky surrounding the larger Varnak cruiser. Their markings were from old clans that no longer existed. Warriors once shamed for failures, drones marked defective, captains stripped of rank. They had all lived in the shadows until now. Lyria felt the air leave her lungs. She had thought she was alone in this universe. But her defiance had become a signal, a beacon. One act of resistance had awakened many. Damon smirked. "You've got an army now." The officer gritted his teeth. He saw the battle turning. "You think these broken things can defeat the Empire?" Lyria stepped forward, her voice steady and royal. "Yes, because they are broken, but they still stand." Damon looked at her with pride. "What now, Princess?" She glanced at him, then faced the officer. "Now I take back my life." She lifted her spear staff high. Her voice rang across the field. "I am Lyria of House Varnak. I was abandoned, but I did not die. Today I choose my own legacy." The rogue ships fired warning blasts around the officer's soldiers. The ground shook, forcing them back. The officer growled and signaled retreat. "This is not over." Lyria pointed her staff at him. "No, this is the beginning." The Varnak soldiers retreated to their ship and lifted off. Damon lowered his knife slowly, finally breathing again. He looked at Lyria. Dust covered her face and sweat ran down her neck, but her eyes were bright. Alive. Powerful. He smiled softly. "You looked like a real leader just now." She turned to him calmly. "I was only speaking truth," he laughed. "Maybe, but someone's got to make it official." She frowned in confusion. "What do you mean?" He knelt on one knee before her. Her heart skipped. "What are you doing?" Damon placed his fist to his chest. "I, Damon of Earth, swear loyalty to you. Not because of your blood, not because you are princess, but because you fight for more than yourself." Lyria stared at him, stunned. No one had ever bowed to her by choice. Only by duty. This was different. This was real. She slowly lifted his chin, forcing him to stand. "No, if you kneel to me, then I kneel to you." His eyes widened. "Wait." She ignored him and dropped to one knee before him. "I, Lyria of Varnak, declare you my chosen heir." "Heir?" he repeated, shocked. In Varnak tradition, an heir is not only by blood. It can be chosen. It means you carry my name, my legacy, my authority. He blinked. "I'm not even Varnak." She looked at him firmly. "You are the only person who stood for me. That makes you more Varnak than any of them." He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "I don't know how to be a prince." She smiled for the first time in years. "Then be something better. Be my partner." The rogue ships landed one by one. Their pilots and warriors emerged, a strange mix of species, machines, and outcasts. They looked at Lyria with curiosity and hope. One warrior, wearing rusty armor, stepped forward. "Princess Lyria, do you claim leadership?" Lyria glanced at Damon. He gave her a small nod. She straightened her back. "I do not claim to be perfect. I do not claim to be noble. But I claim this, and if you stand with me, I will never abandon you." The warriors shouted in approval. Even the drones hummed louder, as if cheering. Damon folded his arms, grinning. "Looks like we've got work to do." Lyria faced him again. "Are you ready, heir of mine?" He shrugged casually. "As long as I get better food than ration paste." She laughed, a clear, free sound. Damon smiled at the rare joy in her eyes. Together they began organizing the new followers. Some repaired ships, others set up defenses around the outpost. Damon assigned tasks with calm leadership. Lyria spoke with each new recruit personally, learning their names and stories. Some had been betrayed, others had been forgotten. All of them had lost something, but now they gained purpose. As night fell, Damon and Lyria stood side by side on a high rock, watching their new army work. The stars finally appeared in the sky, bright and countless. Damon crossed his arms. "So, Princess, what's the plan?" She looked at the stars with calm determination. "First we build a home. Then we show the Empire what they threw away." "And if they come?" Damon asked. Lyria smirked. "Then they will face not a fallen princess, but a rising one." Damon nodded approvingly. "Just one thing." She raised an eyebrow. "What?" He extended his hand. "If I'm your heir, then you're stuck with me." She looked at his hand, then placed hers in it without hesitation. "Then I am honored." They stood there hand in hand, watching their future being built from ashes and hope. No royal crown rested on Lyria's head, but she felt heavier with real power. No throne sat beneath Damon, but he felt taller with real purpose. They were no longer abandoned. They were founders, and their legacy was just beginning.